What makes this episode good is also what makes it a little dangerous. It knows that modern science audiences want to feel smart without feeling small. So Neil deGrasse Tyson and Megan Farsad build a kind of emotional shelter. The questions are huge. Gold forged in collisions. Why almost every galaxy is redshifting away. Whether time itself is an illusion, but the room stays intimate, conversational, even playful. That can turn science into mood lighting. Here, mostly, it does something better. It lets Tyson smuggle rigor into a format designed for cosmic comfort. The title asks, do colliding pulsars create all of the universe's gold? But the episode's real thesis is broader and more valuable. Spectacular cosmic claims only matter if you keep the chain of inference intact. You can hear that in the way Tyson answers the first serious science questions. He doesn't just hand out facts. He keeps dragging the viewer back to mechanism. Not, space fueling stations are cool, but the fuel problem defines space travel. Not redshift means things are moving away, but what exactly is being stretched, by what, and under which conditions? That is the intellectual ethic of the whole video. Take the early detour into cosmic relay points and deep space fueling stations. On paper, it's a whimsical fan question. In practice, it's Tyson showing his best habit. He reduces fantasy to constraints without humiliating the fantasy. The answer becomes a lesson in Delta V, infrastructure, and why most grand space visions die not because they're unromantic, but because propellant is tyrannical. That's a deceptively strong educational move. He doesn't merely say no. He translates desire into engineering. Viewers leave with a better mental model of why space exploration bottlenecks where it does. The strongest stretch of the episode is the redshift segment around 17 minutes, because it shows Tyson at his most useful, careful, scalable, and allergic to fake mystery. He separates Doppler-style motion from cosmological expansion cleanly enough for a general audience. And he remembers the crucial corrective that almost all galaxies are redshifted not because Earth is special, but because large-scale expansion changes the geometry of the whole picture. The mention of the famous blue shifting exception, Andromeda, matters because it stops the explanation from hardening into slogan. It's a small sign of honesty. Yes, there are local motions sitting on top of the big story. But this is also where the episode reveals its one recurring weakness. Compression sometimes impersonates closure. Redshift is explained well enough to orient a newcomer. Yet the conversation glides past the distinction between observing a wavelength shift and fully cashing out the causal story in different astrophysical contexts. That isn't a fatal flaw in a 5-question science show. It is a reminder that Tyson's gift for clarity can make unsettled complexity feel more domesticated than it is. A beautiful explanation with a hidden assumption is still an assumption. The full moon section is where the episode becomes almost morally instructive. Tyson isn't just debunking werewolves and seizure folklore for sport. He's attacking a habit of mind, the human tendency to mistake salience for evidence. The moon is bright, theatrical, impossible to ignore, so we recruit it as a cause whenever behavior becomes strange enough to need a story. His joke that werewolves should be just as active during the day if the moon is physically there is more than a punchline. It's a compact lesson in bad causal reasoning. The show keeps asking, are you noticing a pattern, or are you being flattered by one? And then we get the segment that justifies the video's headline energy even though the title barely admits it. Gravitational waves, black hole collisions, pulsars, optical follow-up. This is the most conceptually rich part of the episode because it deals with a real epistemic problem rather than a trivia answer. Why can't we simply point a telescope at a black hole merger and watch? Because the event giving us the cleanest gravitational wave signal may also be the event that gives off essentially no light. That distinction between an event existing and an event being optically legible is where the show is at its smartest. This is also the point where I'd push the title hardest. Do colliding pulsars create all of the universe's gold? Is an irresistible hook because neutron star mergers really are among the most dramatic sites for heavy element production. But the episode, at least in the material we have here, is more cautious than the title. It gestures toward pulsars and mergers helping bridge gravitational and optical astronomy, which is good science communication. What it does not do, wisely, is pretend that one sexy mechanism has closed the case on cosmic nucleosynthesis. If you came in expecting a triumphalist answer, the video quietly refuses to give you one. That's a compliment. It chooses honest incompleteness over TED Talk certainty. The prediction segment, what we'll solve in the next 30 years, whether we'll find life on Mars, could have been the cheapest part of the episode. Instead, Tyson treats futurism as a confidence interval, not a prophecy machine. That restraint matters. Science media is full of false deadlines dressed up as optimism. Here the posture is more adult. Some mysteries are ripe because instrumentation is improving, not because the universe owes us closure on a human timetable. That is a much healthier relationship to discovery than the usual countdown clock nonsense. The shakiest section is the late philosophical turn on time as illusion and whether increasingly complex intelligence is somehow natural. Not because Tyson says anything absurd, but because the format changes underneath him. Earlier answers are anchored to observations, detectors, mechanics. Here the conversation moves into conceptual metaphysics, and the show doesn't really slow down enough to mark the border crossing. Time is emergent, can mean several incompatible things depending on whether you're speaking physically, phenomenologically, or rhetorically. The episode treats that slippage with more confidence than I would. This is where the evidence does less work than the narration suggests. Still, I don't want to undersell how unusually generous this whole thing is. Megan Farsad's role matters because she keeps the room from becoming a lecture hall. You can see it in the keyframes. She isn't there as a silent laugh track. She keeps rehumanizing the questions, nudging Tyson to answer for people who don't live inside the jargon. That matters substantively. The show doesn't merely translate science downward. It stages a negotiation between expertise and curiosity. And Tyson, to his credit, rarely punishes the question for being naive. He uses it as a ramp. So my verdict is more enthusiastic than the title prepared me for. This isn't a perfect piece of astrophysics communication. It occasionally lets a smooth answer outrun a messy question. But as a model of how to talk about science in public, how to keep wonder, keep humor, keep velocity, and still preserve the skeleton of the argument, it's excellent. The strongest part of the video is also its biggest vulnerability. Tyson makes difficult ideas feel so manageable that you can forget how provisional some of them are. When a science show leaves you excited and slightly suspicious of your own appetite for certainty, that's not a bug. That's education doing its job. If you want more reviews that go after that hidden machinery, the part of a smart video that makes you trust it before you've even checked the logic, subscribe. That's the layer worth noticing.